Really, it was my fault for falling in love with the terrier mix. Of course she was going to dig. Of course she was going to try to swallow any piece of debris she found, regardless of whether or not it would kill her. Some dogs have a really remarkable amount of awareness and intelligence. Maisy is not one of those dogs. She's more the rolling that dead squirrel at all costs type. I always made sure that Maisy didn't sneak any toys out into the yard with her. She would invariably try to bury them. So when I caught her happily gnawing on something, I had to give chase. By the time I pried the object from her mouth, it was dented with tooth marks and slippery with drool. Definitely small enough to get caught in her throat. I swear you have a death wish, I told her. She just tilted her head at me in that confused puppy way. The thing looked like a piece of trash at first. It was a little tube made out of cheap clear white plastic. It was about the size of a film canister and had a screw-on lid. I shook it experimentally and something small and hard rattled around inside. I was always a sucker for little mysteries like this. Maybe it was a message or a miniature time capsule or something. I shooed Maisy inside with one foot and took the tube into the kitchen. I stuck it under the faucet to wash away the mud and dog spit. It had something written on the bottom in old Sharpie. It had faded a little, but it looked like the word oil. Oil? Or was O-I-L a set of initials? I shook it again and heard the same rattle. When I tried to unscrew the lid, it was stuck pretty well, but with hot water and a little muscle, I got it to give way. There was a tiny slip of paper inside, remarkably still clean and legible. It said Paul. Something else was inside, the source of the rattling. I tipped it over my palm and shook out a single tooth. It was definitely human, and definitely from an adult. It looked like a molar, flat on top with the roots poking out. There was a small dab of metal right on the crown, where a cavity had been filled, and the roots were tinged with reddish brown. With a shudder of revulsion, I scooped the tooth back into the oil canister and washed my hands with the hottest water I could stand. So much for a fun little mystery. I wanted to throw it straight into the trash, but I stopped myself. I figured maybe I should tell someone. Who do you call when you find a creepy human sample buried in your yard? The police? It was about 9 p.m. already, so what I did was just leave the canister on my computer. Maybe I could take it somewhere in the morning if I wasn't too busy. Maybe some detectives could run an analysis on it. Can you take dental records with just one tooth? Was this a remnant from a particularly strange former tenant? I washed my hands a few more times before I went to bed, just for good measure. When the dog took suspiciously long to pee the next morning, I went out after her. Sure enough, she had mud on her toes and muzzle, and did a guilty scooting run away from me when I approached her. Maisy, when I catch you, I swear. I trailed off, hunting for the spot she'd been digging. I found it up against the fence behind some shrubs. She'd gotten fairly deep, and fresh dirt was flung around in little heaps. Stupid dog. I moved to tow some dirt back into the hole when I noticed what looked like whitish plastic poking out of the earth. With a few scrapes of my toe, it began to wiggle loose. I knelt and pulled it out. It was a little plastic canister with a screw-top lid identical to the one I had in my kitchen. When I shook it, there was a rattle. I couldn't get the lid off. I ran inside to confirm my suspicions. I had to force it open with pliers, but when I did, I found another adult tooth. Flat and very white, like it came from the front of someone's smile. The paper inside said Jessica. The bottom of the canister was labeled with the number 59. 59? Oil. I slowly rotated the older canister until the lettering was upside down. Oh. I guess I really am going to the police today. I don't know exactly how many teeth are buried in my yard, but I'm guessing it's at least 710.